No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Mark Twain once said, "Reports of my demise have been greatly exaggerated." And that quote comes to mind to me for the Winnipeg Jets after what many people thought was a bit of an underwhelming NHL trade deadline. The Winnipeg Jets go out on the second half of a back-to-back, and they make an absolute statement to the rest of the NHL that we are the top team in the league, and we're going to take it out on the New Jersey Devils to remind each and every one of you other 31 teams that the Jets are still the kings of the regular season. Good evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live tonight on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Along with Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss, and if there's kids in the room, cover their ears, an absolute shit-kicking by the Winnipeg Jets, 6-1 over the New Jersey Devils. The Jets in control from start to finish tonight, and they walk away with an impressive victory on the second half of a back-to-back. 2 games, 24 hours. The final total score, 10-2 for the Winnipeg Jets. Ezzy, good evening. Nice to see you again.
What's up, Drew? Yeah, I mean, I'm a Devils fan, as you know, and as all of our regular viewers and listeners know, and you know, this was an embarrassing night to be a Devils fan, like especially in that third period. I mean, it was a 2-goal game after Dawson Mercer scored early in the third period, and the Devils just looked listless. And I mean, you could say that, you know, they were already well behind the 8 ball after being down 3 goals after 2 periods. But I mean, this is a Devils team that's trying to hang on to third in the Metro. I mean, the Blue Jackets are only 4 points back, I believe, either 2 points back or 4 points back.
They're 4 points back, and they now have 2 games in hand.
There you go. So 2 games in hand, 4 points back. The Devils are in danger of falling into a wild card spot. Like, the playoffs aren't necessary. Like, obviously, the Devils, there's a good chance they're going to make the playoffs, but they've gone from, you know, a team that was competing for first in the Metro to a team that now is in danger of falling into a wild card spot. So obviously, you know, credit the Jets, Drew, second game of a back-to-back. Obviously, they get the Brandon Tanev boost. He was in the lineup. Luke Shen, of course, was not in the lineup. He's not going to be available till they're back at home next week. But obviously, Tanev has an immediate impact. He's on the ice for the first goal for the Jets, right? And, you know, you just love the style that the Jets played. Like, that was the type of road game that you want to play, right? Like, they were, I thought, very just economical. Like, they just looked like they were dialed in from puck drop, and they obviously didn't let the Mercer goal phase them. I mean, the Devils could have made it interesting there. But obviously, you know, some terrible defensive play by the Devils, especially on the Adam Lowry goal, and some suspect goaltending by Jacob Markstrom, who obviously, you know, has had a good year thus far. But this Devils team, Drew, now they're 2-5 since the Four Nations face-off. They're 4-6 in their last 10. They've lost 3 games in a row. And like I mentioned, they've gone from a team who looked like they could win the Metro to a team that could be in a wild card spot. So, you know, again, give the Jets a lot of credit. They buried the Devils in that third period when the Devils looked like they were going to make a comeback. You love to see the balanced scoring. You obviously, you know, love to see the power play goal, right? But I just thought this was a really impressive start to finish game. I thought the Jets were just in control of this game for the majority of the game.
There's no question about it. And, you know, I tweeted this out, you know, 6 hours ago now, saying, you know, I'm always curious after a trade deadline comes and goes, you know, how a team is going to respond in their next game. Now, I'm of the opinion there's no reason for teams to have to play on trade deadline day. For me, it doesn't make any sense, but the NHL schedule makers are going to do what the NHL schedule makers do. So I was interested, really interested, to see how the Jets were going to respond tonight. Second half of a back-to-back, albeit one that very minimal travel from Philadelphia to New Jersey. In fact, I wonder if they even take the plane. I don't even know if they bus or if it's a plane. But
that's probably only like a 3 or 4 hour drive.
No, I don't even think it's that much. I don't even think it's that far. I think it's less than that. But regardless, I was interested to see how the Jets were going to respond because the trade deadline was earlier today, and we saw what all the other teams around the Winnipeg Jets did. And we'll talk about that, throughout the course of this post-game show. And, of course, we'll go way deeper into it tomorrow on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show at 9 a.m. That's really where we're going to delve deep into the trade deadline. But the Jets...
Sorry, Drew, just to go back to what we were talking about before, it's a 1 hour and 22-minute drive, according to Google, which is about 85 miles. So it's very close.
And apparently I missed this on the broadcast, but apparently Kevin Sawyer said that they bust. So it's a back-to-back with no real travel. So, I mean...
Did Kevin Sawyer drive the bus as well?
He may have. I'm not sure. He was, they were up early. Him and Dan were getting a little punch drunk towards the end of the game because they said they were going on a couple hours sleep because they were up so early to be on the TSN broadcast this morning. It's always fun. I do like their chemistry, but that's a separate issue entirely. But I was saying the Jets, I want to see how they were going to respond. Everybody said the Jets didn't do enough, on the trade deadline day, that the moves they made were moves on the edges. They were moves on the margin, and they are. They're valuable additions in Brandon Tanev and Luke Schenn, but they're not the headline-grabbing acquisitions that Dallas made. They're not the headline-grabbing acquisitions that Colorado made. So I was curious to see, would the Jets maybe be a little bit down on themselves? Would they be a little bit skeptical? Would they be a little bit of a hangdog, second game of a back-to-back hangover sort of situation? And the answer unequivocally was no. It was no with an emphasis on the word no, how the Jets went in there and they looked like the Jets that we've seen for the most part through the first 63 games of the season, now 64 games after tonight, where they go out there and they punish their opponent and they take advantage of their opponent's mistakes while at the same time staying within their structure, staying within the system. They know how their game has to look to be successful, and they went out and they executed that. It's one thing to execute that against the Philadelphia Flyers last night. The Flyers were beyond horrible last night, but the Philadelphia Flyers aren't playing for anything. To your point, Ezzy, the New Jersey Devils are playing for a lot, and the Winnipeg Jets went and just whipped them from start to finish. And that, to me, is just an unbelievably important statement for the Winnipeg Jets, saying to everybody else, hold on a second. We don't get to 92 points at this point in the year by a fluke. We're not... we don't need reinforcements to make us a better team. We're already a damn good team. And that's, to me, the message the Jets sent to everybody tonight.
Absolutely. And the Devils look like a team who doesn't have Jack Hughes for the rest of the season and doesn't have Dougie Hamilton for, like they've said, he's going to miss a significant amount of time. So whenever they say that, I mean, it's going to be weeks, not days, right? So, and Jonas Siegenthaler is another top 6 defenseman who they're out without right now. So the Devils are hurting, but I mean, you've still got Nico Hischier, you've still got Timo Meier, you've still got,
Jack Hughes.
Well, Jack Hughes is out for the rest of the season.
Sorry. Luke Hughes. Sorry. I got my Hughes confused.
Yeah, for a second there I was going to be like, is Drew listening to what I'm saying here?
You're all good. Right.
But no, I mean, it's one of your best forwards and unequivocally your best defenseman in Dougie Hamilton. So that's tough. But I mean, you still have to play the game and you still have to, try to win games without those guys. And
Devils, by the way, I mean, sorry for interrupting, but the New Jersey Devils and the Jets are 1-2 in terms of defensive success this year. The Devils are a good defensive team. That's, they are next to the Winnipeg Jets when it comes to defensive prowess. And you did not see that at any point during tonight's game from the Jets' perspective. Now, admittedly, to your point, you're right. The Devils played lousy. But at the same time, it's not like the Jets won this game by accident. They went out there and they had a hell of a lot of a reason. There, it was the Jets' performance that had a lot to do with the Devils playing so poorly tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the first period was, I thought, pretty even by all accounts, right? Like, it was kind of a sleepy first period. It was pretty low event, right? Like, the only good scoring chance I can remember the Jets really giving up was actually to Brendan Dillon, right? Like, there just weren't a lot of scoring chances. I was checking Natural Stat Trick, obviously. Shout out to the good folks at Natural Stat Trick, who we obviously, use every single game as a resource. Mm-hmm. And the Devils ended up with 11 high danger chances to the Jets 13. I'm like, that's a lot higher. Obviously, they were being generous with the high danger chances tonight. But I thought for the most part, like, you talk about the Jets when they play well in their structure. Drew, you often hear about controlling the middle of the ice, right? Like making sure that you're keeping things to the outside. Like, I just thought tonight was a game in which the Jets did not give the Devils a lot of odd man rushes. Like, I can't remember really any, to be honest with you. And, they just kept things to the outside, didn't give up a lot of rebounds. Like, this was like a pretty easy night for Connor Hellebuyck. Not to say that he didn't make any key saves. Like, you remember in the first period, before Alex Iafallo scored the first goal, there was that scramble.
The puck is sitting right there, and DeMello scoops it off the goal line.
Yeah, and it was Nico Hischier, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was behind that he pushed off. So I mean, there was some chances, right? Like, I remember Nico Hischier had a really good chance in the third period that I can remember. It just wasn't, a difficult night for Hellebuyck, which is a testament to how well the Jets played in front of him defensively. So I think you're right, Drew, when you talk about, not that the Jets need to send a statement out to the rest of the league, but there was a lot of negativity swirling around in terms of the Jets not being able to land that 2C, not being able to land that big fish. And what did they do? Second game of a back-to-back, they come out, and you're absolutely right. They pounded the Devils. It was an embarrassment.
Is what the Devils had in the course of tonight's game. 23 shots. And usually, in a third period, when you're down 3-0, and New Jersey or most teams, when you're down 3-0, the strategy is throw everything towards the net. Just throw it towards the net. It might be empty calorie shots on goal, but just throw it towards the net, and maybe something will happen in that case. The Jets outshot the Devils in the third period. The Jets dominated that third period after New Jersey made it 3-1. I mean, to give up only 23 shots on the second half of a back-to-back against a pretty damn good hockey team speaks to just how dialed in to their defensive responsibilities the Jets were tonight. I mean, they were just thoroughly focused on the task at hand, and they said to New Jersey, you're going to have to earn it, and we don't think you can. And the Devils proved the Jets to be right. The Jets just said, no, we're not even going to give you an opportunity. We're going to take a 3-0 lead into the final 20 minutes of the game. New Jersey gets that early goal, and you're wondering, okay, does New Jersey have a little bit of a pushback? And, they really didn't. The Jets did a good job at keeping them at bay after that. And then in the back half of that third period, we know that the Jets scored 3 goals in the last 8 minutes of this contest to really embarrass the Devils even further. But you can't help but be thoroughly impressed by the performance of the Winnipeg Jets tonight and the way they went about their business. Just professional, business-like, 2 straight wins after they lost those 3 games in a row. And now they have Sunday against Carolina, where, if you can go in there and do something right, you've really sort of changed the narrative after that mini losing streak, if you haven't already changed it by winning these back-to-back games.
Well, you mentioned the losing streak, and obviously the game against the Islanders, they were pretty bad 5-on-5. We talked about it last night at Boston Pizza, right? Like, it was the power play that really just got them back into that game against the Islanders. But, the Jets, we've seen this time and time again this year when they have a little bit of a losing streak, which obviously they haven't had many losing streaks. But when they lose 2 games in a row or they lose 3 games in a row, they usually respond by going on a winning streak of their own. And obviously, a 2-game winning streak, it's not like, anything close to the longest winning streak of the season at 11 games. But,
right.
I mean, we've seen them respond time and time again. And I think, if this was the Jets of 3 or 4 years ago, maybe they go into this second game of a back-to-back and, they don't have a lot of energy and maybe they lose a close game. But, they put their stamp on this game in the third period. It was really impressive. and obviously we'll, get into the goals in the Play Now game recap, but I mean, the Devils were like making mistakes that you just like. Simon Nemitz, I realize he's a high draft pick and he's got a lot of
second overall. I mean,
he's struggled all year. Remember, Drew, we were talking about him potentially being in a trade earlier in the season, and I think there was some problems with his agent, and the Devils not happy with the way he's being used. And obviously, look, we talked about Dougie Hamilton, Jonas Siegenthaler. I mean, they had to go out and acquire Brian Dumoulin. Yeah. The Devils weren't really a team that you would thought were going to augment their defense necessarily, but they brought in Brian Dumoulin, who played tonight. And obviously that didn't really help. But going back to what you said before, this Devils team is one of the better defensive teams in the league. Their special teams, I think they have actually, if you combine their power play and PK, they have the best special teams in the league because their power play is second or third, and then their PK is third. But again, speaking as a Devils fan for a second, like this game just felt like they were feeling sorry for themselves that they were without Jack Hughes and Dougie Hamilton.
Yeah, and if a little bit of that, yeah.
I just thought they played a very, I don't know, I can't put my there were bursts and there were moments, and obviously the first half of the third period they were making their push. We talked about it. They almost made it a 1-goal game there. Johnny Kovacevic had a really good scoring chance on Hellebuyck. And by the way, great for Johnny Kovacevic, right? Like I know Dave M
extension today,
got a nice contract extension. Dave M developed a relationship with Kovacevic when he was with the Moose. I think we had him on the show, or Dave interviewed him a couple times, and just great to see, right? Because obviously, that would be a guy you would love to have as your third pair left side defenseman right now. So just great to see a guy who wasn't a high draft pick, worked his way up from the American Hockey League, and he's found a really nice home in the Devils. So just wanted to get that in there. But, good on the Jets here.
Like, that was the only ththing that went well for the New Jersey Devils and for Johnny Kovacevic tonight. You're right. They were just thoroughly outplayed by the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets, I know we sound like a little bit of a broken record and a little bit repetitive, but that's just the fact of how the game was tonight. The Jets were just that in control of it, especially after the late goal by Alex Iafallo. That's really, the first period up to that point in time was relatively even, relatively back and forth, for the most part. And then the Jets' all-important first goal. And I know it's a cliche about getting the first goal, but, think about the number of times in tonight's game the Jets get late period goals. They get a late goal within the last 2 minutes of the first period. Nikolai Ehlers scores with 30 seconds to go in the second period. And, they get late goals in the third period, but the game was already over at that point in time. But those goals, any goal in the final 2 minutes of a period, are both demoralizing for the team that gets scored on and a big boost for the team that gets the goal heading into the dressing room. So the Jets really, for a game that was relatively even, through the first 20 or the first 18 or so minutes, the Jets score, and then they control the second period thoroughly at that point in time. I have no doubts whatsoever that goal by Iafallo coming so close on the heels to the Devils themselves opening the scoring caused the Devils to really sag for the remainder of the contest.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, and we've seen that many times before where the Jets have either scored an early goal or a late goal at a critical time of the game. And, Alex Iafallo's goal, like, again, I thought Jacob Markstrom was really struggling with the puck, like just his rebound control. He was giving up juicy rebounds, and he just didn't look confident. Like, even what was the Kyle Connor goal? Was that the fifth Jets goal, Drew? I think fourth or fifth. I think it was the fifth, because Lowry's goal was the fourth, right?
That's right.
There was a lot of goals tonight. I have to keep them in order. But I even thought
we'll get into the goal by goal recap in the second here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just thought even the Kyle Connor goal, like, I just thought, like, that's like Markstrom's a big guy, and I just thought he was like in an awkward position when look, Connor is a top goal scorer in the league. So again, folks, not taking anything away from Connor, it was a nice shot. I'm just saying,
as he's taking something away from Kyle Connor, folks. No, I don't know. You're gonna let him get away with that?
Markstrom had a rough night. I think you'll at least agree with me. Whenever you let in 6 goals, you have not had a very stellar night. But you're right. I mean, the goal in the third period, I would even go as far as to say that was a pretty boring first period. But yeah, Iafallo, nice to see. You love to see, Brandon Tanev in there, and you just love to see the fact that they were getting scoring from all lines, really, right? Like you had each line get a goal, whether that was at even strength or the one power play they got power play goal they got from Nick Ehlers in the second period, right? Pardon me, Josh Morrissey in the second period, right? So, this was pretty. I mean, it's hard to look at this game and not just use the word impressive, considering that it was the second game of a back-to-back, and considering that there's a lot of negativity. And again, I don't think, Drew, obviously, I'm not around the team, but we've covered hockey enough to know, I don't think that these guys really listen to the outside noise. I'm not saying that they don't hear it or read about it, but I really think that I think maybe a more fragile group might come out with a lackluster performance. But I really don't think that I think if you ask the Jets, and I think some of them were asked about the trade deadline, but I don't think they're going to say, well, we didn't get it. We didn't get Brock Nelson, so I guess the season's over. You know what I mean? They still went out there, and I think Brandon Tanev is a very well-liked guy.
Sure.
And I think that he provided a boost. And I think the Jets, after that 3-game losing streak, I think they want to put that behind them, and they want to get back to their winning ways.
Well, they certainly did that last night in Philly, and they matched it again tonight in New Jersey, scoring 6 times on Jacob Markstrom and only giving up 1 themselves. That means there's 7 goals to go through, which means it's time for us to dive headfirst into the goal-by-goal recap. It's called the
Play Now Game Recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Play Now for their continued support, title sponsorship of all of our Illegal Curve programming. That includes tonight's Illegal Curve post-game show. That includes tomorrow morning's Illegal Curve hockey show, 9 a.m. back here on our YouTube channel. And of course, that includes Sunday evening's post-game show after the Jets and the Carolina Hurricanes. Learn to bet with Play Now, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Sign up and get up to $250 in bonus bets. Conditions apply, 18 plus. Most importantly, be sure that you are enjoying it responsibly. We talked about the first period, which was relatively evenly matched for the majority of it, but the Jets do open the scoring at the 18-17 mark. A depth goal. The Jets, they run 4 lines deep, and they run 4 talented, effective lines deep. And this was a 4th-line goal. Alex Iafallo picks up the puck behind the net. He feeds it back to Logan Stanley. Stanley cross ice to Colin Miller. Miller with the shot on Markstrom. And Alex Iafallo goes and gets the rebound, putting it past Markstrom. He beats, who does he beat? Jesper Bratt to the puck, and he's able to tuck it past Markstrom to give the Jets the 1-0 lead at the 18-17 mark of that first period, Ezzy.
Yeah, it was just an absolutely hardworking goal. That's just what that was, right? It's a a decent point shot from Colin Miller. I love, by the way, the work that Morgan Barron does in front, because he draws Johnny Kovacevic out to him. He's battling hard with Johnny Kovacevic. You forget, Morgan Barron is a big man, right?
Sure.
He's not a small guy. Maybe, sometimes, because the Jets have, a few other guys in the lineup that are big guys, namely Adam Lowry and Logan Stanley, you forget about that. But I love the work that Morgan Barron was doing in front. And like you said, to me, this is kind of simple. This is Alex Iafallo beating Jesper Bratt, who, by the way, didn't mention him earlier. Jesper Bratt is having a career season. He's a very reliable defensive forward. And that kind of just sums up, again, not going to say, this one goal sums up the whole game, but in a way it kind of was a microcosm. I know you like that word, Drew. I think I used that word maybe 50 times when I was at the University of Winnipeg. Everything was a microcosm in my university papers. But that's what I thought really of this game. It was just the Jets winning those individual battles, right?
Sure.
And that's why I think Jets fans are very excited about this line. Obviously, we should mention it was Gustafsson who came out of the lineup.
Well, what did you think of Morgan Barron as the center now? So, we know Kupari's going to be gone for a week at least. He's on IR in the concussion protocol. But, the 4th line of Morgan Barron, Alex Iafallo, and Brandon Tanev, with Barron up the middle. And this is something we can certainly delve deeper in, and will delve deeper in tomorrow morning on the Illegal Curve hockey show. That's 3 big men who are fast and strong. not that Kupari and Gustafson aren't, but
Right.
they're definitely not the same sort of size. That with Kupari and Gustafson, it's more speed. With Barron and Iafallo and Tanev, it's a combination of speed and size, I would say.
Oh yeah, it's a meat and potatoes line for sure. But the
Mhm.
reality is all of these guys are skilled, right? Like these are guys that can easily play up in your lineup. But I like the look of it, right? And obviously it's a small sample size, it's only one game. But I think a lot of people were wondering after the Jets acquired Tanev today, like, is he going to play on the third line? Well, I mean, the reality is Lowry, Niederreiter, and Appleton have played so well as a trio together the last couple of years. I think it makes more sense to have him on the fourth line at this point. And then you're right, Drew. Once Rasmus Kupari comes back, I don't know if he immediately goes into the lineup as your fourth line center, but the reality is Barron has the ability to play up the center. We've seen him more on the wing at the NHL level, but he has been able to play center and do a good job at it. So, I mean, again, it's only one game, but they looked really good. And to your point, I mean, this is not going to be a fun line to play against. Like, it kind of reminds you of the CCM line on the Islanders that we always talk about. Cizikas, Clutterbuck, and Matt Martin, right? Like, just
Back
a line,
day, right?
Yeah, like a line that just goes out there and they cycle the puck in the own zone. They lay body checks on you, but they can also score goals, right? Like that was IFL's 9th goal of the year. Brandon Tanev's already got 9 goals, right? Like if you've got 10 to 15 goal scorers on your fourth line, like that's a very impressive fourth line, right?
It's a good matchup problem for a lot of other teams.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens, but obviously, when you acquire a forward and you don't give up a roster player, that's going to bump out a guy like David Gustafson. So, I mean, that's unfortunate. He essentially, when Kupari comes back, he's your 14th forward, and then we'll see what happens. But, I mean, based on the way they played tonight, I could see that line sticking together for a while.
I would agree. I just want to address this one question. Snuka 2002 says, do the Jets need to send anyone down to make room for Luke Shen? And the answer is no. At this point in the season, there are no more roster limits. All you have to do is be salary cap compliant, which of course the Jets will be because they have so much cap space that went unused.
6 million, just over 6 million in cap space.
So the Jets can have a roster of, honestly, they can have a roster of 27, 28 guys if they want to, when the Moose season comes to an end, they'll call up all of their black aces and everything else. But they could also strategically start to potentially rest guys as you get closer to the playoffs. If you want guys to take a night off here or a night off there, too soon to start doing that, but there are no more roster limits in the NHL for the remainder of the season. You just have to be salary cap compliant from now until the end of the regular season. And then once the regular season ends, there's no salary cap involved at all, which is why everyone's going to come off LTIR, of course, on the first day of the playoffs, as all the teams that cheat their way to it, successfully cheat their way, by the way. That's not an insult.
Keep your eye on Matthew Tkachuk. I think that's what you're referencing there.
No question. You'll see Tkachuk and Brad Marchand in the lineup. I'll bet dollars to donuts they'll be in the lineup for the Florida Panthers on day 1, game 1 of the playoffs. And, it's a miracle they're healthy again.
I can't wait to talk. Obviously, we'll talk about that more on tomorrow morning show, but a Tkachuk and a Marchand on the same team, like that's bad news for the rest of the league.
It certainly is. Jets make it 2-0 at the 3:48 mark of the second period. It's the power play. It had been cold. It is no longer cold. Josh Morrissey, his 10th of the year, assist to Nikolai Ehlers and Kyle Connor on this goal. And, this is a shot pass by Nikolai Ehlers here. He knows it's a shot for a rebound. Johnny Kovacevic is in the box for holding after Jacob Markstrom goes for that wandering walk in the middle of the ice and forces Kovacevic to take a holding penalty. Ehlers gathers up his own rebound. He puts it back to Kyle Connor. Connor walks the blue line, feeds it over to Ehlers. Ehlers with the deliberate shot off the far pad of Markstrom. He kicks out the rebound right onto the stick of Josh Morrissey, who's coming downhill from the point after knowing there's going to be a rebound here. And then Morrissey is able to smack it into the back of the net. Just connected plays from the Winnipeg Jets here. Morrissey finding the soft ice. Ehlers with a very strategic shot. And it's a 2-0 Winnipeg Jets lead at this point in time.
Yeah, and it's almost like the Jets were trying to show us like another way that they can score on the power play, right? Like we've already seen 1,000 different ways that they score on the power play, and they're like, we're going to show you 1,001. You're absolutely right, Drew. This was 100% by design. Nikolai Ehlers knew that big rebound was coming out, and you love the fact that I thought, like, again, I'm a Devils fan, so for me saying this, it's I wish I wasn't having to say this. I wish I was talking about a Devils win, even though people are going to get on me because this is a Jets postgame show. But I just thought the Devils' penalty kill looked really passive, and like I mentioned, this Devils penalty kill was third overall in the league. I know that they've struggled as of late, but as you mentioned, Drew, the Jets go 6 games without a power play goal, and now they've got 5 in their last 3. So again, that's not bad when you can score 5 power play goals in 3 games on the road. But I just love the fact that Josh Morrissey could see that the Devils were a little bit deep here. They were a little bit static, and he just moves in from the blue line. And, he kind of assesses the play. And to me, that's just like, it just shows the skill and the smarts of this line. Like they feed off of each other. They read off of each other. And, it's not the typical kind of tic-tac-toe, or, it's not the Gabe Vilardi taking the puck, to the side of the goaltender and doing something. It was Nikolai Ehlers, like you said, it was a deliberate shot pass that worked to perfection with Morrissey coming in and depositing the rebound past Markstrom.
Well, and you look on the on the replay here, and it's Nico Hischier who's sort of standing still. He's the one who sort of lets Morrissey have the free lane coming down from the blue line. He's so focused on the puck that he doesn't even notice Morrissey move. And by the time he notices, Morrissey's got the puck on and off his stick. So it was a night of all systems failures for the New Jersey Devils, and the Winnipeg Jets were all too happy to take advantage of it on this instance to make it 2-0 at the 3:48 mark. They make it 3-0. We mentioned that, demoralizing late period goals for the Winnipeg Jets in tonight's game. The third goal of the game, Nikolai Ehlers, his 21st of the year, assisted Dylan DeMello and Josh Morrissey. And this one it comes right after the Jets kill a penalty. Logan Stanley takes a penalty for a delay of game, puck over glass. The Jets are able to kill off that penalty, and then it's a set play off the faceoff. Now it's Ehlers, Scheifele, and Vilardi, because Kyle Connor was stuck on the ice as part of penalty killing responsibilities. So he gets a shift, or Ehlers gets a shift with Vilardi and Scheifele in this one. The Jets win the faceoff and goes back from Morrissey over to DeMello. You see Ehlers whip around from his spot on the faceoff, whip around the net to the sideboards, picks up the pass from DeMello, cuts into the middle of the ice, and Gabe Vilardi's in front of the net causing havoc. And Ehlers is just between the hash marks, and he wires it past Jacob Markstrom. A beautiful set play by the Winnipeg Jets, executed to perfection, and everybody knew exactly what their role was on this play. And it's nice to see a set play, when you draw it up on the board, come to fruition on the ice, as it did in this one, to give the Jets the 3-0 lead.
Yeah, Drew, and I know my apologies, because I know you hate when I use this, but like this could be the Ginsburg backbreaker, right? Like the late goal in the second period. Obviously, the Jets scored, so I don't know if we can necessarily call that the backbreaker. I mean, maybe Adam Lowry's goal was the backbreaker, but there's no shortage of goals that we could pick here. But like that, to my point, I always say that when it's a goal that gives the Jets a 3-goal lead, or it's just at the time of the game, right? And like you said, I mean, the Devils are trying to get into the second intermission only down a goal. Pardon me, only down two goals.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, this is it. Like, let's be honest, it's a backbreaker. It's a beautiful play by Nikolai Ehlers, but again, it's Brett Pesce who's battling in front with Gabe Vilardi. So you got to give him credit because he's a distraction. But again, like I look at this goal and, Jacob Markstrom's got to have that one. I'm not taking anything away from Nikolai Ehlers, but there's a little bit of traffic, but you got to fight through that one. That shot's from 40 feet away. Like it's not like a goalie like it's kind of similar to yesterday. And Urson let in the Kyle Connor shot off the rush, right? The third goal, kind of similar thing. Like, again, I'm not taking anything away from these guys because I just said Ehlers' goal was nice. He cuts in, like you said, and the Devils gave him way too much time and space He's the last guy that you want to give that type of space, because it was Luke Hughes who went out and chased him, and he was just a step behind him. But I just didn't think overall Markstrom had a good night. And again, I'm not taking anything away from Ehlers. I'm just saying that the Devils,
I would agree with you.
They were porous defensively tonight. They really were.
But I would agree with you on this one, because as Velarde and Pesce are battling, they're battling more to the side of Markstrom. So I think he saw the shot fully, and it's a good shot and everything else. But you want your goalie. I mean, NHL goalies usually have the philosophy of, if I can see it, I should save it. And, in this instance, Markstrom does not save it. It gives the Jets the 3-0 lead. But you're right. The battle between Pesce and Velarde is more of a off to the side a little bit, as opposed to being right in front of him, taking away his eyes. And in that instance where there's 30 seconds to go in the period, as the goalie, you have to find a way to step up, make that save for your team. If you get into the third period only down 2, well, 2 goals is certainly not an insurmountable mountain to overcome. But the way the Jets have been playing, I think they said on the broadcast, the last time the Jets gave up a 3-goal lead was something like 2022 against the Colorado Avalanche. And that certainly wasn't going to happen in tonight's contest. It certainly didn't feel like it was going to happen. That said, the New Jersey Devils get off to a good start in the third period. 31 seconds into that third period, it is Dawson Mercer. He gets his 14th of the year, assist to Kovacevic and Andre Palat. And the Jets were just a little bit asleep at the wheel here to start the period. Palat gets too much time and space into the Jets zone. He feeds it back to Kovacevic. Nobody covers Dawson Mercer whatsoever. Just a defensive breakdown from a team that hasn't had very many defensive breakdowns, but it's just too easy for the Devils. Too much soft ice that the Jets are giving up. Nobody is anywhere near Mercer, and Kovacevic just tees him up for it, and he wires it past Connor Hellebuyck. And all of a sudden, it's 3-1, 30 seconds into the third period.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at natural stat trick. The Mercer Palat Tatar line was by far the worst line for the Devils tonight. And speaking of guys that are struggling, like Dawson Mercer, that's his first goal in 11 games. He had 27 goals a couple years ago. So he's a guy that I'm a big fan of, obviously. But he's not having a great year. But that goal was huge for him, like I said, to break his goalless drought. But I don't have a lot of problems with this goal. Like, I mean, you don't necessarily like the time and space that Kovacevic has and it's a bad angle shot. And I think it was Mercer was just in a nice place, kind of in the Ovechkin spot in the face-off circle to the right of Connor Hellebuyck. So it's not a great goal to give up. But again, it was the only goal the Jets gave up all game, right? So again, I think
when you have a breakdown, how do you respond to the breakdown?
Right.
And that's what's so important here. And admittedly, after the New Jersey scored here, they did push for the next couple minutes.
Yes.
They had a pretty decent push. The Jets were a little bit on their heels. Connor Hellebuyck had to make that save that he made sort of lying on his stomach. I believe it came after the Mercer goal. So New Jersey pushed back a little bit, but the second that they sort of lost that momentum, or they weren't able to get that second goal past Connor Hellebuyck, they really began to hang their heads again. I would say by the 5-minute mark of the third period, the Jets had sort of regained their footing, regained their skating, had begun to tilt the ice back in their advantage a little bit. So they, weathered the storm that the Devils brought. And then the Jets, decided to, certainly take this game and put it well out of reach.
Well, like our good buddy Chris Merrills says here, we got the comment up. Jets kept things calm and collected and rebounded. And you're absolutely right, Drew. Like, yes, I mean, the Jets give the Devils, a little bit too much time and space, on that goal, which was, speaking of an early goal, that was 30 seconds into the third period, 31 seconds to be exact. They give them too much time and space there, and it's a nice shot. But that was really like, how many mistakes did the Jets make in this game? It was a pretty mistake-free game by the Jets. Obviously, the Devils had some chances, but the Devils have some high-impact forwards that can make plays. So, I mean, if you can keep the high-danger chances to a minimum, and like I said, I'm surprised that there was that many high danger chances for the Devils. Like,
Didn't
sometimes
feel like it.
no, and like, Drew, you're like me, right? Like, you don't follow the game along with natural stat trick. Usually you watch the game and then you check natural stat trick after the game, or maybe you check it during the intermissions. I'm not sure, but usually I don't check it until after the game unless there's a reason why I want to check it. Like if there's a line that's playing really well and I just want to back up the advanced stats or something like that. But it was a really impressive response by the Jets, but just a horrible giveaway by Simon Nemec, if you want to get into the next goal. And
well, that's the fourth goal of the game, which is what you're talking about. It comes at the 11:56 mark. It's Adam Lowry unassisted. This is the kind of play that gets a player sent back to the AHL. It's that bad. Sure. It's that egregious of a play. This is a guy who's the second overall pick, who the Devils have very high hopes for, a guy who's been frustrated with his role on the New Jersey Devils so far. He's been stuck playing at the AHL for a lot of the season. Yeah. Now, with the litany of injuries the Devils have on their back end, he gets an opportunity, and he immediately, it's 17 on 17. I mean, it's beyond soft. Nemec, Lowry's bearing down on him, but Nemec is trying to put it back to his D partner in this case. His D partner in this instance is Brendan Dillon, but he's so soft with the pass that Lowry just takes it. I mean, this is an egregious mistake at any level, never mind the NHL level, never mind from a guy who's the second overall pick. Lowry just takes the puck and comes in all alone, and he beats Jacob Markstrom far side. But this is the kind of play that Sheldon Keefe could very well use as ammunition. If he wants to put a player in his doghouse, this is the kind of play that puts a young player in the doghouse.
Yeah, and Nemec is a guy that's been criticized, quite a bit by Devils fans this year. He's able, like, the guy can skate. I mean, like you said, Drew, he's a second overall pick, so he's obviously got a lot of tools in the toolbox. But the criticism of him hasn't been the way he's played offensively. He's a defenseman, and he makes these types of mistakes. That's one of the reasons why he spent half of the season with Utica. And like you said, Adam Lowry has some pressure on Nemec, but it's a bouncing puck, and it's kind of like Lowry's kind of half speed, and he comes with a little bit of pressure, and Nemec just kind of puts the puck exactly where you would like. It was almost like too good to be true, I think, for Lowry. He's like, okay, I'll turn the puck over to me and I'll put it top corner on Markstrom. Like, he made that look absolutely easy. That was really the backbreaker goal.
Right. At that moment, at this point of the game, the Jets aren't taking any risks. They're not playing a high risk approach here. It's just Nemec is on the backhand. He tries to feed it back to Brendan Dillon. It's soft. It's slow. It's unacceptable at the NHL level is what it is. And Adam Lowry is coming downhill. And you don't have to make the perfect play. You just can't make a horrendous play. And that's what Nemec does on this one to give the Jets, resulting in the Jets getting the 4-1 lead. And it was game over at that point.
Yeah. And one other comment too is that I'm not sure if you heard that on the broadcast, but Adam Lowry is now only 2 goals away from his career high, which was, I believe, in his 3rd year with the Jets. So he's always kind of had around 12 or 13 goals. He's been around that mark. Yeah. But Adam Lowry's got a good shot to break his personal best of 15 goals, which I think, for a guy who, when he moved up to that second line with Ehlers and Iafallo, what did you hear? Well, Lowry is not good enough offensively. And yes, granted, in a ideal world, he's not your second line center. But as we know, their advanced stats were actually really good, Lowry, Ehlers, and Iafallo. So, I mean, I know there's a huge criticism out there of Chevy for not getting a 2C because of the fact that if one of Scheifele or Nemesnikov goes down, but I would say that, Lowry is capable. I'm not saying that he's going to be, like he's going to score 2 goals every night, but all I'm trying to say is, like, let's give this guy a little bit more credit for his goal scoring ability. He's got a good shot of breaking his personal best this year.
Speaking of a good shot, Kyle Connor makes it 5-1 for the Winnipeg Jets, his 33rd of the season. It's such a good shot that it's our shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
Big thanks to our friends at Seagram for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Seagram's 83 is Manitoba's favorite Canadian whiskey. If you're enjoying it, enjoy it responsibly. Big thanks to our friends at Seagram's for their continued support. So this comes about 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes after the Jets make it 4-1. At this point in time, they're just pouring it on. It's Mark Scheifele just doing Mark Scheifele things. He picks up the puck in the Jets zone. Gabe Vilardi sort of feeds it to him. Scheifele gains the blue line. He just works his way through. You see Nemec. You see Brendan Dillon. You see Jesper Bratt. All of them just back off. They just all go so deep into their own zone. Nobody's anywhere near Scheifele. And Scheifele's just meandering his way through. And he tees it up for Kyle Connor, and Connor absolutely rips it. I mean, if you can't give Kyle Connor any space to let his shot go. He's going to hurt you and burn you when you give him that kind of space. It's amazing just watching three Devils players. Vilardi wins the puck battle in the Jets zone. He takes it off of the stick of Palat. And then Scheifele just meanders, like I said, just meandering his way through, not in any hurry. Nobody's accosting him. Nobody's making it difficult on him. You just see them go deeper and deeper and deeper into their own zone. He finds Kyle Connor as the trailer. Connor, from the face-off dot, rips it and gives the Jets the 5-1 lead.
You mentioned it. So Andre Palat is definitely beat by Gabe Vilardi in the Jets zone to start this all off. So that's just another example of the Jets winning their individual battles, right? But you're absolutely right. It's Jesper Bratt, and then it's Nemec who's out there with Brendan Dillon, and they're backing up. So Scheifele gains the zone with absolute ease. So Kyle Connor is obviously coming in off the left wing, comes in through the middle, takes the puck where Nemec is just skating the wrong way, and he kind of just says, okay, I'll take the puck and now I'll go in and take a shot. And this goal bothered me because of the fact that you're already down 4-1. The game is already over, let's be honest here. Mm-hmm. And Jacob Markstrom, and he's got to stop that, right?
That's of all the Devils players, sorry for interrupting, I mean, I think that's a better shot than anything else. Than it is a bad goal. If I had to choose between great shot or bad goal, I'm choosing great shot.
Fair enough, Drew. And obviously, it's subjective, right? But I look at the reason why, I guess, again, I'm not Kevin Woodley, who's our goalie expert. I never played goal except for maybe River Heights House League hockey. But I mean, what I didn't like about this goal is look where the puck is, right? Markstrom's a 6'4", 6'3" goalie, and he just goes down a little bit, and it's just it's over his shoulder. If Markstrom stands up there, does he not just stop that? I don't know. Maybe I'm overanalyzing it, but I just thought Markstrom just was awful tonight.
Look, the Devils top to bottom were pretty awful tonight. And I mean, like I said, you look at the defensive coverage on this play. Somebody has to step up and challenge Mark Scheifele. You can't just let your opponent, I don't care who your opponent is, gain the blue line that easily. Nobody's coming back to try and slow down Kyle Connor. I mean, when you have superstar goal scorers, giving them that time and space, they're likely to. There's a reason why they're called superstar goal scorers, and Kyle Connor just sort of reminded everybody about that in this instance. But boy, did the Devils also make it easy on him to.
That's what bothered me the most as a Devils fan. That's it's one thing to lose a battle, in the Jet zone, but then you let Scheifele just come through the zone with let's be honest, a minimal amount of speed like this. It's not like Mark Scheifele was coming through, guns a-blazing. This was very much and that's to the Jets' credit in this game. They definitely took advantage of their opportunities, right? We talked about it. Mm-hmm. It's not like the score definitely, I think, wasn't necessarily indicative of the play. It wasn't as big of a blowout, I think, but it was really, the Jets just taking what was in front of them. The Devils playing soft defensive hockey. And they're in trouble, Drew. In the Eastern Conference, if you end up falling into a wild card spot, obviously that's not where you want to be. You don't want to, have to end up playing, the Florida Panthers in the first round, for example, or playing the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round. But yeah, the Devils are in trouble. But to the Jets' credit, they made no mistake about this in the third period and buried 3 goals to make sure the Devils weren't coming back.
And the final goal the Jets scored, Cole Perfetti getting his 13th of the year, assist to Dylan Samberg and Nikolai Ehlers.
And which defenseman's on the ice, Drew?
It's Simon Nemec. I mean, yeah. Simon Nemec loses position on Cole Perfetti. It's not rare. It's rare that Perfetti is sort of the aggressor on the play, but he just, Nemec loses position on him. Dylan Samberg's shot is off the end boards and it comes right back out to the side of the net. And Perfetti is just sort of in front of where Nemec is. Nemec isn't tying up. He's not tying up a stick. He's not doing anything of anything at all, really. He's just sort of standing next to Cole Perfetti, and Perfetti, out muscles him. It's not something you usually attribute to Cole Perfetti, but he does it successfully on this one. He taps the rebound off the end boards past Markstrom. The Devils wanted nothing more than the game to just sort of be over at this point in time. And Perfetti will say, okay, thanks for my 13th assist, like I said, to Samberg and Nikolai Ehlers, 6-1. At that point, with a little more than 3 minutes to go. And certainly, if the crowd hadn't left, I don't even know what the arena is called there in New Jersey. It used to be the Prudential Center. Is it still the Prudential Center?
Yeah, it's still Prudential.
Was that what it was called when we went there? Yep. When we went to the game there all those years ago?
Yeah, it's always been Prudential.
Okay, well, there you go. So it's still the Prudential Center, and the Jets will be glad that they get all of the insurance markers that they did. See, that was a good pun on my part. 6-1. They win over the New Jersey Devils tonight, and just, icing on the cake for everybody when the whole team can feel as though they contributed to the victory. And this is one of those full team victories where every line gets on the scoreboard and every line is going to be feeling good about themselves as they now head to Carolina for the matinee on Sunday against the Hurricanes.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just one other thing on the Perfetti goal, you love to see the former roommates connecting there, right? Dylan Samberg, obviously, with the point shot. And then Perfetti, and you're right. It's just he beats Nemec. Like, Perfetti's in front of the net. Shot comes through. He's like, okay, I'll put the puck in the net. Like, it was just, they made it like, and that's the thing too. The Jets made it look easy, and that is a testament to how they were playing. Usually, when you're doing the right things, and you hear Scott Arniel always talking about the process. Even though we were losing those 3 games, the process was right, and we were still getting the shot attempts. And tonight, this was just the Jets outplaying the Devils, and then reaping they sowed whatever the thing is.
Reaped what they sowed.
They reaped what they sowed tonight. That's what I was trying to say there, Drew.
But it's not sowed SEWED. It's SOWED, I believe.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, you reap what you sow.
Yeah, and just incredible game from Nikolai Ehlers, who picked up the assist in addition to obviously scoring the goal earlier in the game. And obviously had another assist on the power play goal. Morrissey's goal, we talked about that one. That was one of the nicer plays in the game. So, yeah, I think you're just happy with the overall performance of the team. And, they kind of, at least for the time being, they kind of said, okay, we might not have acquired a second-line center, but who cares? We can still beat a really good Devils team, or at least earlier in the season, they were a really good Devils team. I'm not sure about the Devils anymore. That game kind of, that was not a confidence booster if you're a Devils fan watching this team allow 6 goals from the Jets. But it's still, nonetheless, it was an impressive performance by the Jets.
It certainly was, top to bottom, a very tidy, a very impressive 6-1 victory for the Jets over the New Jersey Devils. And of course, that means they won both of their back-to-back contests. 4-1 last night against the Flyers, 6-1 tonight against the Devils, 10-2 in the span of 24 hours, which I don't think you have to be a mathematician to know that you're doing something right when you're winning games by that lopsided margin as the Jets did tonight. When we come back, some interesting post-game quotes from the Winnipeg Jets dressing room, and we'll tee up tomorrow morning's Illegal Curve hockey show, where we will delve deep into everything that went down at trade deadline day earlier this afternoon. 6-1 Jets win. Don't go anywhere. Drew Mandel, Ezra Ginsburg with you. A Friday night edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show presented by Play Now rolls on.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling sites instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this. without your money.
So much of your money.
Now, you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in two unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Our local Boston Pizza is BP Taylor. We were there last night for another edition of the Illegal Curve watch party and live on location post-game show. And what fun we did have. So it's always great seeing our loyal audience. We know you join us, when we're live here on our YouTube channel, but anytime we can get it out of the studio and get it live on location, you guys show up in droves. And we totally and definitely appreciate seeing so many of you last night at Boston Pizza, Taylor Avenue. Information to come on when our next live on location event is. We know that next Friday at 12 noon, we'll be with our friends at City Place. So we're always looking forward to that. And things are percolating. Things are in the works when it comes to playoff pregame shows, like we did at City Place last year. Playoffs? Yes, the Winnipeg Jets are going to the playoffs. Not official just yet, of course, but mathematically impossible.
Well,
next to mathematically impossible for them to not be a playoff team at this point.
Yeah, what are they up to, 92 points? Like, we're going to be on clinch watch pretty soon. Like, the Jets are, it's not going to happen, obviously, with a win over Carolina, but what are we, a week away, 10 days away from the Jets clinching a playoff spot?
Probably.
Like, it's pretty crazy. Obviously, when you start the season off 15-1, I mean, you've kind of clinched a playoff spot already. Right. And then obviously the 11-game winning streak helped as well. Yeah. But I see a lot of people in the chat talking about that, and that's a pretty awesome position to be in when it's early March and you're already talking about clinching a playoff spot.
It is. It certainly is a pretty impressive group the Winnipeg Jets have put together this season. Some interesting quotes. And again, we'll delve way deeper into everything tomorrow morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We know it's been a long day and a tiring day for everybody. So tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., we want everyone to get a good night's sleep.
Yep.
Come refreshed. Come relaxed. 9 a.m. tomorrow. We're going to be joined by Kelly Moore of 680 CJOB. and Craig Button is also going to join us. So that's really exciting that we're able to get Craig back on the program. You saw him all day on the TSN Trade Center coverage. You saw him on the Jets broadcast tonight, and he's going to be with us tomorrow morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. So be sure to join us 9 a.m. But first, a couple comments. Murat Atesh of The Athletic is on this road trip. He's in New Jersey along with Mike McIntyre and some other members of the assembled media. Brandon Tanev on his Winnipeg Jets return, quote, "I've had a big smile on my face all day. It's a group I know very well, a city I know well, and they've had great success this year, so I'm just trying to come in and do whatever I can. The team is playing some great hockey, so whatever the role I need to play or do is what I'm willing to do." So that is Brandon Tanev speaking tonight to the assembled media in New Jersey after.
Hold on, Drew. Can I give you my best Brandon Tanev face really quick?
Sure, please do. That's pretty good. It's not bad. Get the eyes bigger. Your eyes have to be bigger, and you have to be more horrified that you've seen something you're not going to unsee for the rest of your life. But that's a good effort for the time being. Here's Adam Lowry about talking about Brandon Tanev. Quote, "He doesn't seem to have an off switch. He's always kind of in high gear, high strung, and ready to go. It doesn't matter the score. It doesn't matter if you played a lot of games in a short amount of time. Sometimes it's a guy like that when your team comes out a little flat and you throw him on the ice and he can get the crowd back in just with his energy." So there's Adam Lowry heaping praise on Brandon Tanev. Of course, Luke Shen, who's also a very high character guy by all accounts. In fact, a lot of people point to when the Vancouver Canucks lost Luke Shen, that was where the beginning of the end started in the relationship between JT Miller and
Sure.
Elias Pettersson. So Luke Shen, it was somebody on the TSN broadcast today, I don't remember exactly which one of the panelists said, that there's nobody in the NHL who can organize a team dinner quite as well as Luke Shen can. So for a team that has placed a lot of emphasis on culture and stability in the room and making sure all the pieces fit right in, there was no question about Brandon Tanev with his familiarity with the group, and it sounds like Luke Shen is also going to fit in seamlessly into the tight-knit Winnipeg Jets dressing room.
And what is something that we talked about before the trade deadline? Were the Jets going to bring in somebody who has Stanley Cup rings?
That he
Luke
does.
Shen has Stanley Cup rings. So the Jets now have somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who don't know, he won the Stanley Cups, the back-to-back Stanley Cups with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Obviously, he wasn't a key piece of those teams, but
a similar role to what the Jets would hope that he'd play the same way.
Games, right? Like I just double-checked, and he played about the first cup that they won, he played 11 games, and the second cup was 8 games. So he was that kind of quote unquote number 6, number 7 defenseman, right? But the point, but he's got the Stanley Cup rings, and you just mentioned it, Drew. Just obviously we're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves here. We'll talk about it more tomorrow. But Luke Shen is a very well liked guy. Love the fact that he's a good Saskatchewan boy, and that the Jets were fired up with these two acquisitions. And I think sometimes we get a little bit fixated. Whether it's fans, whether it's media, we get fixated on the big fish, right? Like the Mikko Rantanens, the Brad Marchands, the Brock Nelsons. But and don't get me wrong, I think there was an opportunity missed to bring in a 2C. But I think the Luke Shen acquisition was a really smart one. Obviously, Jets fans were maybe looking for some help on the left side because he's a right shot defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there always is the chance that he's going to play on the left side, but he's mainly played on the right side. But I just wanted to throw that in there. But that when you consider what he does, he blocks shots. He's a physical guy. He's got over 1,000 games of NHL experience in the regular season, and he's got the 2 Stanley Cup rings. So I think that's, I think a good price to pay to bring in a guy like that.
Well, so here's what Adam Lowry had to say about the day as a whole. Watching their, opponents in Colorado and Dallas load up and what the Jets did. So, speaking to Murat Atesh again, Murat asked Adam about the game tonight and the win tonight after all the focus on today's Central Division arms race. Adam Lowry said, quote, "It's gratifying." And then he went on and he said, "I think obviously last night we really liked how we played. And then after the game, there's rumors. The Brock Nelson deal hits, and anytime a big name player is involved, you kind of hope he stays in the Eastern Conference. or he doesn't go within the division. And obviously he goes to a division rival, a great team in Colorado. And then you hear the rumors about Rantanen going to Dallas. And obviously it didn't get done until today, but I think that's what's been so great about our group this year, regardless of the circumstances surrounding us. Whether it's back-to-back or the outside stuff, we just go out there, put our heads down, put in the work, and the results seem to follow more often than not. It's gratifying coming into a back-to-back. New Jersey's a great team. I know they're missing some key pieces, but sometimes back-to-backs, you don't have the legs. I think the guys battled hard. We know it's going to be a dogfight with those teams and who they've added. You just want to continue climbing the standings. Just keep marching your way to the playoffs. I thought we did a really good job of maintaining that focus during a hectic day today and getting a good result. Winnipeg Jets captain Adam Lowry speaking to Murat Atesh, speaking to the assembled media in New Jersey following the Winnipeg Jets and their 6-1 victory over the New Jersey Devils. So they didn't get the big name. They didn't get the heavy hitter that a lot of other people wanted to see them get. But what the Jets did get is a 6-1 victory on the scoreboard. And what they did continue to be is the top team in the NHL. And that, my friends, that counts for something as well on this Friday night edition of the Illegal Curve post-game show. We remind everybody, 9 a.m. tomorrow, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, back here on our YouTube channel. Much more about the trade deadline, much more about the Winnipeg Jets moving forward this season, much more about the Central Division, the arms race, the playoff race. There's only 18 games left now in the regular season. We talk about that. We talk about the playoffs. It's not too early to look ahead and talk about the remainder of the final couple months or month or so, 5 weeks to go until the playoffs are going to begin, 6 weeks, right around there. We talk about that in depth tomorrow morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We encourage you all to be sure to join us for that. If you haven't already done so, smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on your notifications so that if for some reason 9 a.m. comes around tomorrow and you're not already logged on to the YouTube channel, you'll get a little notification, a little bing bong on your phone or on your computer or on your tablet or on your device of whatever device you're using to be sure to log in and watch Ezzy and yours truly and Kelly Moore and Craig Button and any other random guests that we get to join us tomorrow morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Big thank you to all of you for joining us. Big thank you to my colleague Ezra Ginsburg, and a big thank you to all of our sponsors. They make the post-game show, they make the Saturday show, they make the website a possibility. That's our friends at Play Now. They're the title sponsor. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Kevin Farley is at Rumors. It's all sold out. Get your tickets for next week's comedian at rumorscomedyclub.com. Holt Dental, Boston Pizza, City Place, Seagram's. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Mr. Ginsburg, go get a good night's sleep. We have to do it all again in less than 12 hours from now. Until then, thank you to everybody for joining us. Smash the like button, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends, tell your family the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game. And again, on Saturday mornings is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. Thanks, everybody. Until 9 a.m. tomorrow, we wish you good night and good luck. And thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.